Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's Thursday, January 4th at about 1:45 in the afternoon. And I've come back to cut a little bit more wood. We have a ironwood that's hanging across the trail over here, just a small one. There's also a couple small piles of wood that I sawed up quite a while ago. Should have been picked up a long time ago, but hasn't been. So I brought back the wheelbarrow here today because, as you can see, there's a very large tree that's laying across the trail here. That's a hemlock, and it's so large I just haven't really had the ability to cut it across the trail yet, but maybe someday I'll get to that. So I'm going to take the wheelbarrow back there, get those two small piles of wood, then I'll cut the small ironwood that's arching across the trail. It just fell down here last week, so I just want to clear it off the trail. It's got a little bit of wood in it, only up to about 4 or 5 inches across. So I think that's what I'm going to do right now. So here's the ironwood that's fallen down across the trail. It's a fairly small top up here across the trail, but the tree goes down there for 30 or more feet. And it might get up to 6 or 7 inches wide at the bottom. So there's a fair amount of wood sitting in it. So here's the two piles of wood I got sitting here. I'm just going to pick up. These are ironwood chunks here. Over here I've got some beech. Again, another dead beech that I cut up some time ago. This wood is starting to get a little bit rotten, so I better get it now before it's totally gone. They're getting frozen to the ground out here. So those two little piles filled up 2 wheelbarrows full, so I guess it's worth getting. I almost thought about just leaving it here, but might as well get it. So those 2 wheelbarrows filled up a fair amount of this trailer. Now I haven't packed it in that efficiently, but it has filled up the bottom third of it, I guess, at least. So I'm not sure I'll be able to get the whole of that ironwood in here or not. I might have to make 2 runs back. So the first thing I'm going to do here is take off these small branches from the top of this ironwood. Just trim off these smaller ones so it's easier to work on. Then I'll start cutting up the trunk probably from here as usable firewood. I'll just go right down the whole length of it as best I can. At some point I'll have to deal with the way it's sitting here. It's sitting up based on 1 or 2 of its larger branches, so I'll have to work around that at some point. So as you can see here, the rest of this tree is being held up just by these 2 branches here that go down into the ground. But I obviously have to cut these off if I want to progress down the log. So I'll cut these off, and luckily this log isn't too big, so I'll be able to jack it up again just with my own strength. If this was a bigger log, it would be much more problematic, but I'll get these cut off. And then I'll just have to pry the end of the log up a little bit so I'm not cutting down into the dirt. Now it's just being held up by this one here. So this tree is actually a bit larger than I thought it was. Right at this point, we're probably talking 6-inch diameter. And then as you work your way up, it just increases steadily to probably 7 or 8 inches at the base here. It's quite a chunky little tree actually. And here are the cut-offs so far. For anyone who's not familiar, this is Hop Hornbeam, and it's one of the hardest woods that we have around here. It's very dense. The trees don't get huge. They're a mid-storey tree in the forest canopy, so they have leaves that go throughout that middle story, so they're very important from an ecological standpoint to have diversity in the forest layers. But they are a very tough tree, and they burn really hot, which makes them good for fuel for firewood. You can see these are in perfect condition still, even though they've been on the ground for a while. That's because they're quite rot resistant compared to some other woods. There we are, the cart full. Just got to head back now as my battery's dying. Well, unfortunately, I had a rather abrupt end out there in the woods in the video. My battery died to the camera, so I couldn't video anymore really. So it came to a bit of a quick end there. Anyhow, you can see behind me here, I've got most of a trailer full of that wood, plus the two little piles I picked up originally. So that's worth the outing, I think. And I just wanted to get it done before the snow came. So another little bit of wood gathered. So there we have it. You can see I've added quite a few of the larger hornbeam into this pile. Here, here, here. I've scattered them throughout because it's not the kind of wood you want to burn consistently, like repeatedly, one after another, because it can get the fireplace very hot. It's such a dense wood. So I like to mix it with the other less intense woods. So if you mix it in the pile, then you'll be grabbing it at different times as well. There's also some of the larger hornbeam mixed in here. You can see here, but most of this darker stuff up here is the older beech and hornbeam, the small piles that I picked up initially. They were smaller chunks of wood. So you can see them there, and then the other larger ones are mixed in. So the piles are growing. It's just a slow process. And you can see now we've almost burned through our one row, our face row here. It's just a few pieces down at the bottom now. Then we have 2 more rows to go through, and that's for the whole winter. So this isn't going to last us the whole winter. We didn't have quite enough, unfortunately. But we should be good for next winter. Just have to let all these other pieces dry out here for another summer.